Hello, darling.
Hello, darling.
Welcome to ADHD, My Sister and Me. I'm Nicola,
I'm Kim.
and we started off with hello, darling, because who did you say you felt like you looked like today, Kim?
Oh, I feel like the mum from Paddington. Yeah, I just
Who's
chucked loads of random stuff on, and I just feel like I look a bit like her today.
Oh, it's beautiful. Well, we're going to have a little chat today about one of my favourite things, RSD, or Rejection Sensitive Dysphoria. And we were going to talk about a couple of things today, weren't we? But firstly, you're feeling a bit well, how I'm feeling.
Yeah, I have burnt myself out this month.
And day one of your cycle as well, aren't
Day
you?
one
So
of my cycle, yeah. So I'm in a bit of a hazy haze.
hazy, resty
So I'm
time.
gonna Siri's. I'm chatting to Siri now, apparently. Hey Siri, hazy haze.
Oh.
Sorry. Siri.
Okay, I found this on the web for
Oh my
hazy
God.
eyes, so I'm going to Siri's. I'm chatting to Siri now, apparently. Hey Siri, hazy hazy. Check it out.
Sorry about that.
Weird. And yeah, but the other thing we were talking about, I mean, really, the two things should be separate anyway, shouldn't they? Because we probably will have plenty to say about both of them. So yeah, we're going to talk about rejection sensitive dysphoria today, which is not in the diagnosis criteria for ADHD, but it seems to be something that the majority of people with ADHD suffer with. So I will read it out from our favourite place, the Attitude magazine. That rejection,
ADD, as I call it.
that's the one.
It's not. I've realised that now.
Well, you might have been saying it right all along.
I doubt it.
So rejection sensitive dysphoria is not a formal diagnosis, but rather one of the most common and disruptive manifestations of emotional dysregulation, which is part of the diagnosis criteria. So it's very common, but under-researched and very often misunderstood, and a misunderstood symptom of ADHD, particularly in adults. And it's a brain-based symptom that's likely an innate feature of ADHD. Through the experience of rejection sensitive dysphoria can be painful and even traumatic. So it's not caused by trauma. Dysphoria is the Greek word meaning unbearable, which is, I think, actually really good word for it. And it emphasizes the severe physical and emotional pain that it can cause. And it's when someone encounters a real or perceived rejection, criticism, or teasing. And it's the emotional intensity of the response of RSD. And
Sorry,
often
can
people,
you just repeat that, what you just said? Just that last couple of sentences.
so it's the Greek word meaning unbearable. Its use emphasizes the severe physical and emotional pain suffered by people with RSD when they encounter real or perceived rejection, criticism, or teasing.
Okay.
And the emotional intensity of RSD is described by many people as like an actual wound because it can be so painful.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so it's pretty major, really. And the things that it can cause when someone suffers from RSD is they might have a sudden emotional outburst, withdraw from situations, have negative self-talk, and it even says here thoughts of self-harm, avoidance of social settings, low self-esteem, poor self-perception, constant harsh and negative self-talk, rumination, and perseveration. I've not heard of that before. I don't know what that means. And relationship problems because you constantly can feel attacked and responding defensively. So yeah, and people often describe it as awful, terrible, catastrophic, and devastating. And people often find it difficult to actually verbalise how it feels. And so nobody likes to feel criticised or rejected, but it's it's an unpleasant feeling, but it's the emotional intensity that this can have with people with ADHD. And again, it all goes into the emotional dysregulation, doesn't it? So yeah, it's quite major, really. And I was really relieved actually when I first found out about this, because it's something that I've had majorly through my life. And it was quite reassuring to realise that it is actually something that a lot of people go through. And yeah, so how about you, Kim? What are your thoughts with how's it manifested with you?
I think thinking back to when I was young, I haven't got a lot coming up, but I know I was affected a lot by it, but perhaps mainly like in friendships, or like, yeah, if I thought that I was maybe friends with someone and then perhaps they did something that wasn't very nice, and I didn't understand why that was, and then I would just pick myself apart as to what I did wrong or something, whereas it, probably wasn't even anything to do with me. But what I was just thinking, because I said to you before we came on the call, is that, oh, well, I just don't really care anymore. I don't care what people think. But then I've just realised it's not quite true. Because when I give a massage to someone, or when I'm teaching like a yoga class, you never really know what people are thinking, and sometimes I will start the negative self-talk. Oh, did they enjoy that massage? Did they, oh, I should have done this, or like, Nicola, every time I give you a massage, you always say, yeah, it's lovely. But then I think, oh, she just said it was lovely, so maybe she didn't think, it wasn't as good as maybe the last time or something, which I know isn't true, but I just, yeah, I do.
And that is so not true, by the way. Your massages are out of this world, absolutely incredible.
Okay.
And I probably say lovely because I'm so spaced out at the end of it. So ask me a
No,
couple of hours later and then I'll give you some proper feedback.
no, but that's a nice thing to say, isn't it? You've said
Mm,
it's, yeah, it was lovely.
mm.
But I suppose it's
Yeah.
like that looking for more reassurance.
Mm.
And I did I've been teaching chair yoga. That's my new venture in the village. And because I've been a bit burnt out and hazy, I really struggled to get some of my words out this week. And usually it's enough for me, if I'm doing the practice, it's enough for me to get the words out as I'm moving through. But I did muddle a bit, and then I was thinking, oh, was that a good session? Or it didn't feel like it perhaps flowed as well as the others had. But I did recognize myself picking at things quite early on, so I was able to just sort of let that one go.
Mm.
And I know before, when I've done teaching, or I've done women's circles and stuff like that, and I felt really nervous, and I haven't always felt it's gone really well, the feedback's always been so nice, so lovely. So yeah, I think I've had enough positive feedback now that I know that it is my intrusive thoughts rather than the thoughts of other people.
And the thing is, everyone has that to a certain extent, and it shows you care, doesn't it, as well? But it's with ADHD, it can just go to a whole nother level, as you were saying. It's that, yeah, and the intrusive negative thoughts, and that can then escalate. And we've done lots, haven't we, now, to lots of work on this. And I think it does come with age as well. But we were saying earlier that with our mum when you say, oh, she's not, doesn't worry so much now, and we were like, oh, what, you know, what's the secret to that? And she did just say it's come with age, but that wasn't till she was well into her 50s. And I think fortunately, because having mum as a mentor and also all of the work we've done, it's actually come for us a bit earlier in life, which is amazing. But for me, the term devastated really would explain how I often felt when I felt like someone thought badly of me in any way at all. Again, whether that was a real thing, whether that really happened, or whether I was just worrying in my head. I was just having a little look back from my reams and pages and pages of things that I wrote down before diagnosis, when I was trying to get everything straight. And so some of the things I think I can definitely relate to RSD and emotional dysregulation. So going silent and in uncomfortable situations, and going mute on dates. I know I joke about that, but I literally used to go on dates and I would just be completely mute, and then I'd drink alcohol to try and get some Dutch courage, and then I'd be too tiddly, and then I'd be like, oh, I still can't talk because now I'm going to be saying silly things drunk. So I would just I just literally would not speak on dates. And then what else have I put here? Yeah, I just put about the complete devastation and absolutely can't bear it if someone thinks badly of me, overthinking negative self-talk, highly sensitive and hurt easily, emotional, empathetic, chronic anxiety most of adult life, hated getting in trouble, literally used to feel a bit devastated if I ever got in trouble, always just trying to fit in, and you know, being too obliging to people, not saying no, a life of people pleasing, and so not really doing what I wanted to do, but doing things to please other people. And so yeah, so I feel like all of those things that coming into like a lot of it into the emotional regulation and the rejection sensitive dysphoria, because I just couldn't bear to, and then I would spend days, nights, weeks, months worrying. And I think actually I was reading up a bit today about RSD, and they say that you normally calm down after a couple of hours with your reaction to that. But I don't know if it was something that I would come back to, and it was often a perceived threat really, because if I then did address it, even if it was years later, you find out the person didn't even think that in the first place. So again, it's that worrying, and that brings me to the old Mark Twain quote. Where is it? Let me just find that. And you know, you read all these things when you're younger, and you understand it, but you can't, but you don't. Well, certainly for me, I would read these things and be inspired by them, but I just couldn't embody them. I couldn't get them ingrained in me enough to so yeah, Mark Twain said, I've had a lot of worries in my life, most of which never happened. And to be honest, I just was so fed up of feeling like that, and years of anxiety and people pleasing and devastation about people thinking they might have thought badly about something, and then not being able to be myself, not speaking up, literally losing my voice in case someone didn't like what I said. And yeah, it's just awful. And sometimes I do still feel like these things come up, but I just refuse now to go back there. So I will use all my self-care techniques so that doesn't happen. And I do find as well that there are certain times in my cycle, again, I talked before about, thanks to Kim, I then started tracking my cycle, writing down any strong feelings that were coming up every day. And then one of the things that I have noticed is that I'll be feeling a bit, I might be feeling a bit upset about someone, and I'll go and look in my book, I'll be, upset, hurt feelings today, that's fine. So that does really help recognizing patterns as well, actually. But yeah, I think it's just about finding a way through this so that you're not feeling so blooming awful all the time, and recognizing patterns, and then finding techniques to cope and to reassure yourself, really, so that and the more we practice these things, the more they do become ingrained in everyday life. So Kim, have you got anything else? I've been rabbiting on.
Well, I'm struggling to get any thoughts into words today, but what did I just think? One thing that helped me is sort of recognizing that even if people were thinking these things about you, even if they were, like, it doesn't really matter, because everyone is entitled to think how they want to think. And so I guess nowadays I just don't care anymore. And I always used to look at Mum, because she was like, you know, put her on her pedestal. But she was an amazing woman. She was so
She
loving,
was a
so
saint.
giving,
She
so
was a
kind.
saint.
She was a
Saint
saint.
Irene.
We have
Great
sainted
Greenie.
her. But every now and again she'd come across someone in her life who was just an absolute cow to her. And I think, God, if there are people who could find fault with the most loving, caring, giving woman, that says more about them than it does about, you know, Mum or me or you. So,
And I
yeah.
think that is, yeah, that's definitely the thing to remember, isn't it? That if someone's behaving in a certain way to you, unless you've actually done something that, you know, that if you've done a behaviour that has caused them to react like that, then but if, you know, if it's just a general feeling, something innocent, and that you think, then yeah, most likely it's their issue. And but yeah,
Also, just because it keeps going in and out of my brain, so I'm just going to say it while I remember. Quite often, you know, we think we're reading someone, and like you say, we'll get it completely wrong, you know. And I know, like, I have a very resting bitch face, let's call it. I was always called moody at school. I wasn't moody, I just didn't give expression unless there was reason to give expression. And so I'm aware I could look as though I'm giving somebody a not very nice look, because I might be in a daydream and I might just have my resting bitch face on. So yeah, just that point, really, that just because someone is looking a certain way and you catch eyes at a certain moment, it doesn't mean they're looking at you and judging you or giving you a dirty look. So
and
I guess
it doesn't even mean that they've seen you, because you
yeah.
you on the other side of the road and then spend the rest of the day feeling devastated because they ignored you, and actually they may have just not seen you, or they may have just had some really bad news, or that, you know, there's a million and one other things. And yeah, same as you, Kim, I think I tend to just walk along with a bit of a smile on my face these days, but certainly in my younger years, people always used to walk past me and go, "Cheer up." I'll be like, I am cheerful, I'm fine, thanks. Smile.
Oh, don't. Oh, it might never happen.
Yeah, so
Oh my God, didn't that happen at the folk festival like a couple of years ago? One of the bouncers just kept saying something to me, like, kept saying, do you remember?
yeah, that rings a bell, yeah.
And I wanted to say, well, I'm just dealing with mother loss and end of my marriage. I don't really want to smile at you, you know?
Not really in a smiley mood, yeah.
I just thought, oh, as if someone's still saying that to me, like, all these years later. Yeah.
Oh dear.
Sorry.
Um, yeah, so yeah, and going back to RSD, this isn't a new thing. And again, just doing a bit of research on it, it looks like that this was all recognised in the sort of 50 odd years ago, when they were sort of all looking into this for the first time. Apologies if I haven't got this exactly correct. But it looks like they were aware of all this, but because RSD and emotional regulation is so hard to put into words. Clearly, it's to measure. It's so hard to measure. I think they just left it out of the diagnosis. But I think certainly now in the new European diagnosis, it's on there as emotional regulation, so it comes under that. So, but yeah, people are starting to recognise it now.
So I was going to say, do you know why it is in ADHD that people tend to feel this way a lot? Is it because of the constant overload of thoughts that are coming in? Like, do you
Well,
know?
I mean, it is under that emotional dysregulation umbrella, and again, so this is the EU inclusive. Hold on. What? Oh, I'll carry on while Kim deals with whatever she's dealing with right now. And so yeah, I think the EU is this is like the EU guidance or guidelines, and it's got 6 categories now. So rather than before, when it was mainly just the hyperactivity, inattention, and impulsivity, it's now got 6 things: inattention and hyperfocus, impulsivity, hyperactivity, emotional dysregulation, excessive mind wandering, and then behavioral self-regulation, which that comes into that is the executive function deficits. So yeah, so really it comes in, it's all of it, isn't it? It's the hyperactivity of the mind, the excessive mind wandering, the emotional dysregulation, the hyperfocus. Again, you kind of hyper focusing on something, aren't you? So I think it's just all of that, and it is just a symptom of our brains working differently. And so, what happened, by the way?
I just looked out the window and I was like, oh, bumblebee. And I was like, it's in a spider's web. The spider's trying to eat it. So I had to go and I know you shouldn't get involved in nature, but I can't watch a bumblebee get wrapped up by a spider.
You have to make an exception for a bumblebee, I think.
Yeah. It's all good now.
So I've just wrote a few things down of how I've overcome. I say overcome, it's a continuing thing, isn't it? But how I've learned to manage it. So for me, meditation, I mean, I know it's my answer to everything, but it is the answer to everything, really.
It is the answer to everything.
Yeah. And just remembering that meditation, you don't need to look for the results in your meditation. It's in everyday life, and it reduces your anxiety and it reduces your judgments of other people and of yourself. So you're not making those judgments all the time, and you can let things go more easily. And again, like self-care practices, positive self-affirmations, which you can get on, there's plenty on YouTube, there's plenty on the wonderful free app Insight Timer, which I'm always raving about, with access to thousands of worldwide meditation and relaxation teachers. And so positive self-affirmations, doing that daily, that builds self-esteem. So it's building yourself up, really. And just remind yourself when it happens, when you have a thought, just remind yourself this is a thought, it's not a fact. It's a thought, what I think someone else might be thinking, it's not a fact. And surround yourself with positive people as much as you can. And if you have to be around negative people, because let's face it, sometimes we do, if they're family members or people we work with, then just try and protect yourself against their energy. I know this sounds a bit woo-woo, but you can imagine a little bubble of protection around yourself and just bounce off any negative energy. And I had a lovely quote here about positive people, which I thought, here we are. So it's a quote by Denise Lynn: "You'll know the people that feed your soul because you'll feel good after spending time with them." And Rocky, hello Rocky, he is one of those people, one of those fairy people. He always makes me feel good after spending time with him, don't you, boy? And but it's
Rocky's my cockapoo, in case people are listening and can't.
Oh yeah, that could have sounded a bit strange otherwise. And he's just beautiful with his little black curly hair and his little white beard of wisdom. That is like a white beard of wisdom, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you're, we're on YouTube. If anyone wants to check out the Rockmeister, and he's just the most beautiful little fella. Oh. So, yeah. So if anyone has any questions about anything, feel free to pop them in the show notes. And anything else that you want to talk
I know.
about,
I just said, meditation is everything, and yeah, I totally believe that. But also that meditation for one person could be something else for another. Sitting in complete silence is not for everyone. So however you meditate, whether that's walking in nature or being in water, whatever it is that sort of calms, quiets the mind and gives you that opportunity to go deeper into yourself.
Absolutely. Okay, well, let's we've got a lovely quote to finish off on. And this is one of my favourite quotes. And I just said it to myself for years and years and years until I finally believed it myself. And I do still think of it now. If I do get any triggers coming up and I do feel a bit worried about what someone thinks, and it's by the amazing, beautiful Dita Von Teese. You can be the ripest, juiciest peach in the world, and there's still going to be somebody who hates peaches. And it's so true. And I'll just show you a little D. You see that? There we are.
And our mum was definitely the ripest, juiciest peach.
She was, yeah. And
my humble opinion.
Absolutely.
And all who knew her.
And all who knew her. Apart from the people that were a bit mean to her, which
who didn't
we
like
never understood.
Peaches.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, and if I can do it, anyone can, because I mean, can you? Oh, honestly, can you remember, Jo? I would just get devastated about everything, and I'd probably be phoning you up or phoning Mum up and be like, "Oh my God," and it would just eat me up, absolutely eat me up. And it's so freeing to not have that weight, carry that weight anymore, and just it's acceptance, isn't it, that not everyone is going to like you, and that's okay. Like, some people probably find us really annoying,
probably,
and other people probably think we're great. So
my son definitely finds me super annoying, the older one. Everything I say triggers him at the moment. Sorry.
So, sending love to everyone, and I hope you enjoyed this today. And if you did, please give us a 5-star review and share with anyone you think might be interested. We're looking forward to having lots of other wonderful people, wonderful guests coming on in the future as well, to share the love, and find positive ways to help us through life's challenges. Lots of love to everyone. And we'll see you next time on ADHD, My Sister and Me. And keep working on that jingle, Kim. Otherwise, I'm going to have to sing it.
I forgot about that. I'll get back on it.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.